Bonjour tout le monde, mon nom est Daniel Breton, je suis PDG de Mobilité électrique Canada, l'association industrielle de l'électrification des transports. We have approximately 180 members ranging from car makers to bus makers to truck makers to universities, mining, companies, unions, research centers, and utilities. We are here today to do a press conference on the EV availability standard, and I am joined with representatives of industry associations and experts of the EV industry. So we'll start with Cherith here from Electro-Federation. Cherith?
Hello, my name is Cherith Sinasac. I'm from Electro-Federation Canada, and we represent a wide range of electrical manufacturers and distributors across Canada that manufacture and distribute a wide range of electrical and automation products. These products are used to upgrade the grid and also for the electrical requirements for residential buildings and commercial buildings, EV charger manufacturers, as well as energy management systems. More and more Canadians are aware that EVs are cheaper to operate, and addressing EV affordability is essential. The most important objective of the EV availability standard is to provide more choice to consumers by providing a predictable and steady increase in battery EVs as well as plug-in hybrid vehicles. Stable policy and clear targets provide certainty to manufacturers and suppliers. This certainty is required in order to foster innovation and investment here in Canada's supply chain.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Travis Allan, and I work with the Canadian Charging Infrastructure Council, which represents the companies that own and operate over half of the public charging infrastructure in Canada. And we're here today to talk about the electric vehicle availability standard. What may not be obvious is that, as we all know, many Canadians need to know that there is charging infrastructure in place in order to choose electric vehicles. And we've heard a lot of comments about whether that industry is ready. The electric vehicle availability standard provides critical information that allows charging companies to invest in new charging infrastructure and for the utilities that need to make the upgrades and investments that are needed to support the massive build-out in charging infrastructure that's needed across Canada to get Canadians the benefits of electric vehicles. So this is a really critical policy. It's also a policy that creates jobs. Today, at least 130,000 jobs directly depend on the EV industry in Canada, and EY has projected that this number will reach 600,000 jobs by 2035. Thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde, Michelle Llambias-Meunier, présidente directrice générale de Propulsion Québec, la grappe des transports électriques et intelligents. Au Québec, nous représentons 200 membres qui proviennent de l'industrie, des opérateurs, des institutionnels, filières batteries, infrastructures de recharge et véhicules zéro émission. Le Québec a décidé de miser sur une stratégie en électrification des transports, notamment grâce à plusieurs conditions gagnantes comme son énergie renouvelable, mais aussi son talent, sa main-d'œuvre, ces innovations. Il faut pouvoir maintenir pour l'industrie, pour offrir ces innovations-là, maintenir une norme, un cadre normatif, ainsi que des incitatifs qui vont permettre d'offrir un plus grand choix aux consommateurs, mais aussi d'offrir de la prévisibilité à l'industrie, aux entreprises qui évoluent dans ce secteur émergent. C'est grâce à cette prévisibilité-là qu'on va être en mesure de faire croître le secteur, qui est un secteur de développement économique, un vecteur de développement économique, mais aussi qui nous permet de réduire les émissions de gaz à effet de serre. Merci.
Bonjour tout le monde, Mathieu Fortier, le président d'Accélérer. The Accelerated Alliance works with supply chain companies and stakeholders from critical mineral mining through to battery materials manufacturing and battery production through to advanced manufacturing, software design, et cetera, the entire supply chain in electric mobility. A couple of weeks ago, the Prime Minister announced that he was going to be developing an industrial strategy to make more in Canada. And we see an opportunity for the EV availability standard to drive consumer adoption of electric mobility, but also to be an industrial policy. We need to make more in Canada. We need to drive adoption of these vehicles. We need to build the supply chain. And so we are encouraging the government, encouraging stakeholders in this environment to keep the standard, to drive industrial policy, and to make more in Canada.
Morning. Rachel Doran, Executive Director of Clean Energy Canada, a think tank based at Simon Fraser University studying all aspects of the energy transition. According to our work, Canadians are looking to go electric. Nearly half are still inclined to make their next car an electric vehicle, and 6 in 10 younger Canadians are interested. They know that driving these kind of vehicles are going to save them money on their monthly bills over time, but they're looking for the government to help address Canada's currently uncompetitive EV market. Canada's EV availability standard is a policy for consumers and for Canadians. Not only is it going to help improve air quality and meet climate goals and build a healthier Canada, but this type of policy is proven over time by ramping up supply to incentivize more model availability and therefore more affordability across the country, helping the Canadians who want them to go electric.
Hello, my name is Merran Smith. I'm the president of New Economy Canada. We have over 60 members now. They represent the traditional industrial sectors like mining, steel, cement, construction, along with clean energy, renewables, and clean technologies, batteries, and others, energy efficient technologies. And I think we should just take a moment to talk about the global economy. $3 trillion was invested last year in the clean economy, and that's twice as much as what was invested in the fossil fuel economy. So New Economy Canada and our 60 members, we support the electric vehicle availability standard because it sends a signal to those global investors that Canada's ready to compete for that capital and that we are building lasting jobs in our new economy here. So a refined EV standard can also be designed to help retool our auto sector, strengthen our battery and critical metal and mineral supply chains. Thank you.
In conclusion, all of these industry associations plus experts, we all support the EV availability standard for Canada. Some people would like us to repeal this regulation, this very important regulation, and would like us to align simply with what the U.S. is doing. At the moment, the U.S. administration is currently in the process of eliminating regulation on EV sales, on GHG emissions, and even on fuel consumption, which means that if we were to align with the U.S., we'd end up having no regulation whatsoever, meaning it would set us back 50 years. Un recul de 50 ans, ce qui est extrêmement grave. Donc, on doit faire en sorte de mettre en place une norme zéro-émission qui soit ambitieuse. On comprend le gouvernement Carney de dire on va prendre une pause, on va évaluer, mais nous devons demeurer ambitieux pour développer les emplois, pour développer l'industrie au Canada de l'électrification des transports, parce que la différence, selon le rapport d'EY, entre une norme et des politiques pro-véhicules électriques et pas de politique pro-véhicules électriques, ça représente environ 250 000 d'emplois de moins. En terminant, une chose importante, nous avons fait un sondage auprès des Canadiens. En fait, c'est Abacus qui a fait le sondage, qui a déterminé que si on leur disait est-ce que nous devrions suivre les États-Unis et l'administration Trump en matière de réglementation sur les véhicules légers ou avoir notre propre réglementation, 73 % des Canadiens se sont prononcés en faveur d'une réglementation canadienne plutôt que de suivre l'administration Trump. Sur ce, je vous remercie beaucoup. Si vous avez des questions, c'est le moment. If you have any questions, now's the time. Thank you.
Follow up on the polling numbers that you had mentioned. Leger also ran a poll back in August, polling Canadians specifically on the EV mandate, and 71% of them had said that the government should roll it back. And so you're kind of competing polls there as far as the numbers.
There's a difference between roll back and repeal. So the government right now is thinking about maybe being less ambitious in the short term, specifically with the Trump administration. So, and there's a difference between saying we're rolling back the regulation, we're repealing the regulation, or we're getting rid altogether of the 2035 target. So what we are recommending to the government is to say, let's move forward between now and 2032, and if need be, we don't have to go to 2035, we don't have to go to 100%, because some people might not even want to buy an electric car, even if the technology is much better.
They've only announced a one-year pause. It sounds like you feel that the government is prepared to fully scrap this policy. Is that a concern that you guys have?
Well, I mean, we are supporting the government and making sure that we keep a regulation. There will be discussion for the next 60 days. Well, we're at 55 days now on the whole situation. But the thing is that our message is very clear. Without the regulation, we need some. There's so much uncertainty around the world right now when it comes to industry, whatever the industry. Our industry is growing. We're already at 130,000 jobs in Canada. But if we keep having so much uncertainty on policies, on programs, it's having an impact. I'll give you an example. So we had somebody from Parkland, which is a significant company in Canada based in Calgary, who have about 20 to 25% of all the gas stations in Canada. They're investing millions and millions of dollars into installing chargers. So what the CEO told me last week in Vancouver, he said, well, if we don't have a policy that tells us where we're headed, we might delay or even stop developing chargers or installing chargers across Canada. So we need that certainty so that we can invest in all these companies across the country.
Did you buy the government's justification that this decision was necessary to resolve liquidity issues with automakers?
Well, I would say that, I mean, we even told the government that, we would understand, considering how crazy the situation is with the south of the border, that we have to maybe rethink the policy. But to us, we need to have some regulation. To have no regulation whatsoever, like some people are suggesting, we find actually irresponsible. It's as if some stakeholders were saying, why should we have Canadian laws and regulations? Why don't we just blindly follow what the U.S. is doing as if we were just the 51st state? So we really don't think it's good policy. We don't think it's good for people's health, good for the environment, but also it's not good for industry not to know where we're going.
And if this review does result in some amount of rollbacks, then what is sort of the minimum that you would find acceptable? Because there's a large range that is possible.
Well, we won't say it publicly yet because there are some nuances. But as I said, I already said that if we were to say, well, let's forget the 2035 100% EV sales, by 2035. To us, I think that's already a step to show that we are being pragmatic.
And how does this sort of fit in with the broader picture of the EV market right now?
Meaning?
The subsidies being paused or up for renewal in certain provinces and, sales overall.
So that's a perfect example. So 2 ministers announced a few weeks ago that the rebate program was coming back. What happened with that was the fact that, and I'm speaking to dealers on a regular basis, they told us that when people heard the announcement, they said, well, we'll wait until we buy an electric car, which means that in the short term, it actually got EV sales to go down more dramatically. So when the rebate comes back, we're expecting sales to go back up dramatically. So we need more certainty. So what we are saying to government, when you bring back the rebate program, bring it back so from the get-go people know that it's going to decline gradually so that consumers, manufacturers, and dealers know where we're headed.
In your view, is the rebate program a good policy? And I ask that in the sense that even when the rebate program was in place, sales only peaked on a monthly basis at around 18% anyways, right? So some of the arguments from the automotive sector is that it's an inflated number as far as the actual demand for EVs go. And so to continue funding the rebate program to where we need the levels to be in order to be compliant with the regulations would be billions and billions of dollars. And so is the rebate program a good policy, and in your views, it's sustainable?
We think, well, I mean, we can't have subsidies for the purchase of electric car forever, but I could remind people that oil companies have been getting subsidies for more than 100 years in the U.S., and they apparently still need them. So we are saying that they can't last forever. And in the short term, while it's helping, what will actually be most helpful in the medium to long term is to have that regulation will bring more affordable electric cars to market.
So where do you think the demand for EVs is right now then? Can you pinpoint where you think without the rebates sales could be?
It's hard to tell because exactly of what I just told you about the fact that, EV sales have tanked when government announced that a rebate program was coming back.
Assuming the rebate program wasn't coming back, like where, in your view, where is the demand for EV sales in Canada right now?
Well, it's higher than it would be if we had access to more affordable electric cars. So that's why we suggested that, for instance, we bring in affordable electric cars from Europe. Because right now, when you're looking at the mid-range electric cars and mid-range gas cars, it's not really an issue. It's entry-level electric cars, and actually, I don't know if you know about this, but entry-level gas cars, subcompact gas cars, no car maker is offering them anymore in Canada. And when we're talking about affordability, and Travis had a great comment about this, more people are buying used cars than they are buying new cars. More people are buying used cars than they're buying new cars. So what it means, the affordability issue is a real problem because the price of new cars has gone up 45% in the past 6 years. So we want to make sure that Canadians have access to affordable electric cars, whether they come from Canada, Mexico, Europe. I was in Mexico a few weeks ago. I could have bought there a $27,000 electric car from South Korea. Here, the cheapest electric car is $42,000.
You're talking about the competitiveness of the market, that Canada should repeal the tariffs on Chinese EVs?
Well, I think that the tariff on Chinese EVs is a bit high. To say repeal it completely, considering all the geopolitical situation, is more complicated.
Do you think that would hasten EV adoption in Canada, though, if the tariffs were scaled back even partially?
I think it would have an impact. I think it would definitely have an impact. And some car makers are talking to us and they're saying, we want to bring more affordable electric cars from Europe, for instance. But right now, because of the regulation, we're being stopped from doing that. So it's a real issue.
Is there a consensus between all your organizations that take issue with the tariffs on Chinese EVs? I feel like I've seen competing statements depending on the organizations.
Well, I mean, we are the EV Industry Association. Some legacy organizations may have different views. And even legacy organizations don't have the same views between themselves. So it's depending on who you talk to, they have a different opinion.
if I may, Daniel, I think the importance is to...
Come to Mike.
I think what's important to keep in mind is finding a balance between having more offer here in Canada, but at the same time protecting our industry, our investments. So it's a compromise we need to be finding. But those tariffs right now are not the compromise we're looking for.
Yeah. We have to keep in mind that we're investing around $50 billion in the EV industry, you know, from infrastructure to critical mineral mining to assembly. So if we're investing in this, we have to make sure that we balance, as she said, you know, consumers and workers and the future of the industry.
So just so I understand you correctly, like the current situation with the tariffs impacts, kind of hurts the availability of EVs in Canada, but if you were to you're not advocating for them to scale them back completely, because that might sacrifice the Canadian industry. Is that fair?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not just the tariffs on the Chinese, like just to do the detail, the European cars cannot come to Canada because of our regs, not because of tariffs, because of our regulations.
Yeah.
We could change that. The rest of the world has vehicle regs, and North America has a unique set that's different. That's what blocks all these different models that could come from Europe or other places. So that's the regs, that's a whole ton of cars. Then there's the Chinese issue with the tariffs.
Yeah. And keep in mind that we already have a free trade agreement with Europe. So it shouldn't be that much of a problem.
We'll take some questions on Zoom. For reporters who joined online, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function. Nous allons prendre les questions des journalistes en ligne sur Zoom. Si vous avez une question, s'il vous plaît, utilisez la fonction main levée. Palak, the floor is yours.
Hi, Jeff. Good morning. The book sort of looking at dropping the tariffs for some relief on canola, the canola situation. What do you make generally of the government's overall approach to dealing with these?
We can't hear.
Could you repeat the question, Palak, please?
Sure. Is that a little bit better? Can you hear me now?
It's a little better. Please try again.
Yes. So the government says it's looking at dropping or looking at the EV tariffs on China to secure some relief for canola farmers. So I would like to know what you make of the overall approach from the government to dealing with phase-in.
About canola versus Chinese EVs, is that it?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, I don't think that we should sacrifice one industry for the sake of another. I've talked about that extensively in the past few weeks. So Prime Minister Carney, said that they were supporting the canola industry, and they were looking into, and almost quoting here, that he said that he was looking, that their government was looking into options to make sure that we bring more affordable electric cars to Canada. So does that mean Chinese? Does that mean European? I don't know. But one thing is for sure is that we can't say that we'll help one, which will hurt the other. Since Donald Trump decided to attack Canada, people have come together to say we have to stick together and work together. I think we should keep it like that.
Can I just add something? I just to add to that, it's probably unhelpful, some of the commentary in the media pitting one industry against another, one region of the country versus another. The truth is we have two strong industries that we're talking about, and we need to see both of them succeed. The other thing to keep in mind is that, the EV industry in Canada is not just an Ontario industry, right? Auto assembly and parts manufacturing is here in Ontario, but the industry itself in EVs, is critical mineral mining in the west and in the north. It's battery innovation in the east and also in the west. It's a pretty broad sector, and so we have to stop thinking about region versus region, industry versus industry. This is a Canadian play, and we can win in all of these sectors.
And just as a follow-up, maybe Ms. Smith or Doran, given that both of you talked about climate commitments, someone talked about a refined EV mandate. Can you just talk about what that means? Like what piece do you want to keep?
What a refined commitment.
I think electric vehicles are proven to be cleaner than gas-powered vehicles over the course of their lifetime, no matter what kind of electricity grid you plug into. And, transportation is an important part of, Canada's overall plan to address emissions. But I think electric vehicles are bigger than that. And as speakers here today have said, there's an important competing objectives here in Canada to be seizing a growing industry globally, where 1 in 4 vehicles projected to be sold in 2025 globally is going to be electric. Canada having that play and bringing those affordability benefits here at home to Canadians and to consumers who are looking to save money. So I think there's a lot of objectives the government needs to meet, and I think the unified interest standing here on the stage would say this policy has been proven to be able to help address some of those balanced goals.
Prochaine question, Paul Robert Raymond. La parole est à vous.
Bonjour, vous m'entendez?
Oui.
Oui, good. Alors, écoutez, je vais vous poser la question en français. Sorry, I will be asking this question in French.
Pas t'excuser.
Daniel Breton parlait tout à l'heure des tarifs pour les véhicules électriques chinois étaient élevés. Ce serait quoi, disons, le taux? Là, c'est 100%. C'est quoi, ce serait quoi le taux acceptable pour ménager la chèvre et le chou?
En fait, présentement, je ne sais pas si vous êtes au courant, mais le Mexique s'est fait mettre de la pression par les États-Unis pour les monter à 50 %. Est-ce qu'on voudrait s'aligner avec le Mexique puis les mettre à 50 %, ce qui veut dire qu'on les baisserait de 50 %? Ça, c'est une première alternative. Une autre alternative, c'est de le faire par constructeur, comme l'Europe fait. Donc, dépendant des constructeurs, il y a certains constructeurs qui ont des tarifs plus élevés, d'autres plus bas, dépendant de l'avantage compétitif constructeur par constructeur que le gouvernement chinois donne à ces entreprises. Moi, je pense qu'il faut regarder toutes ces options-là. Mais une chose est certaine, c'est que 100 % de tarif, pour nous, ça n'a pas de sens. 0 % de tarif n'a pas de sens non plus. Donc, on doit trouver une espèce d'équilibre dans tout ça, Paul Robert.
Avez-vous une question de suivi?
Non, c'est avec un peu ce qui est arrivé avec les dossiers Nordvolt et Lyon Électrique, est-ce qu'il y a quand même un certain avenir, surtout au Québec, là, ces deux dossiers-là ont été un peu, désolé l'expression, morpionnés. Ce serait quoi l'avenir au Québec?
Là, je vais dire une chose que peut-être que certains journalistes n'apprécieront pas, mais les journalistes font les nouvelles avec les mauvaises nouvelles. Mais les bonnes nouvelles, on en parle moins. Puis il y a pourtant plein de bonnes nouvelles qui se passent au Québec en électrification des transports. Quand on parle de la chaîne d'approvisionnement qui est en train de se déployer à Bécancour, entre autres choses. Puis quand on regarde les projets miniers un peu partout à travers le Canada, les projets en Ontario, peut-être que vous l'ignorez, mais bientôt, on va commencer à construire des camions électriques au Canada. Donc, tu sais, on dit souvent les bonnes nouvelles ne font pas de bonnes nouvelles, mais la réalité, c'est qu'il y a une chaîne d'approvisionnement qui est en train de se développer. On parlait de 130 000 emplois présentement au Canada. Et selon EY, on parle de 600 000 emplois d'ici 10 ans. Je ne connais aucune autre industrie au Canada qui va se développer à un tel niveau.
Merci. C'est ce qui met fin à cette conférence de presse. Thank you. This concludes the press conference.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.